Well, good evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock, and thank you all for being here. The three of us or four of us that there are. So, as we continue to explore this, the video conferencing aspect of online education, we're recording this for the rest. Wonder, I don't, I know some of you are not able to be on campus during the day, but did anybody see Jim McKelvey, our guest speaker today, at any of the events?
Yes.
Okay, Norberto?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Yeah, I went this morning and at noon and stayed over till at the 2 o'clock time too, and pretty impressive guy. The companies that he's been in, I think we could learn a lot from him. I basically thought he could do several. There could be a book in there somewhere, but because there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of activity, and so Norberto, what did you think? Got any impressions? Which one did you attend, and got any impressions for the group that's here?
I attended the 10 o'clock, I believe it was, in the auditorium.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're interested in being an entrepreneur, for me personally, which I'm not interested, he scared me away. You know what I mean? Because I just know my strengths and my weaknesses, and entrepreneur is probably not the way I'm gonna go. But other than that, it was very interesting though what he had to say about it though.
Well, I understand that. I understand why, I had done some entrepreneurial things. I don't know that I would call myself a serial entrepreneur, but I think that Jim is definitely one, and shows some wisdom. He knows himself pretty well, and you really have to be an entrepreneur. He had a, risk is one thing. Being willing to take one. A lot of it is when you're younger, you are quite often, but there's a lot to be said for being in other types of organizations. But one of the questions was what about your competitors? And he goes, well, we've always kind of created things where we didn't really have competition. We've done things that we didn't really have competition. And even now, he said, there were very few competitors. One thing I thought was pretty interesting, he said, usually there are people, I'd call them copycats, people who copy the success that they perceive, and they say, oh, we're going to copy that, and that'll be pretty easy to knock off. And what happens is the copycats, this happens a lot in restaurants as well as other things, but copycats will do a pretty good job of copying a part of the formula, but they're not copying some of the real subtle details that make the difference, whether that detail might be, a little bit of extra customer service or something else that could be added. So he was very confident that things they would stand up, and they do have some competition. That in some cases the competition has taken a little bit different form. I asked him this afternoon about how do you know when you need a partner or you're ready for a partner, and he said, well, always you always need a partner. You need somebody who's going to help you do the things that you are not good at. And he said, I'm not good at HR. I'm not good at process. He named a whole bunch of things that were things that, after listening to him for a while, you go, gosh, this guy's pretty good at everything because he has pretty good view of things. He said his time management is fascinating, because he at one point he decided to quit watching television, and he does not watch the news. So that's the kind of, he said, all of a sudden I had all this time. So he does get a lot done. Actually, this afternoon at 2, he showed us his to-do list for the Abilene trip, all the things he needed to do while he was here. But fascinating. I think it's a really good start for the School of Business in this Garrison lecture, and I look forward to more really successful ones. And I think it's just going to be great. So, thanks for your comment there. I thought since we're talking about chapters 16 and 17, we might go and I can. It seems like between video chats, I always forget how to operate this thing. But here we go. Here's a few slides from chapter 16 that I wanted to talk about because it's certainly an important part of marketing. Kind of my favorite part in many ways, other than retailing, is the advertising part. I worked for an ad agency for a while. I loved the creative process in terms of, coming up with ads. And I think it can be just as creative now. It's more data driven, so there's probably going to be more, less. The copywriter just wants to do this to break through, but there's still a need to break through the clutter and all that. But there's a couple of things here I wanted to highlight on this slide, particularly 19. The difference between product advertising and institutional advertising. So you've got what could be called price and item advertising. And a good example of that is in the newspaper is Hobby Lobby. You see these probably once a week, and everything is, in fact, they've got a little bit different take on it. And instead of, they don't, except in a few cases, they don't list a particular price. They list a percentage off. So people are used to that, and 50% off on frames. That's when we go and decide to have something framed, and that's pretty good and good time to do that. So, but it's clear that when they're analyzing the effectiveness of this ad, is the money we spent on this ad in the Abilene Reporter News, was that well spent? Well, they can kind of do a per square inch analysis of it and say, the frames thing pulled pretty well, but the crafts thing didn't. So they might try something else in that area. It is, and it's now another kind of advertising, kind of a different philosophy. And my opinion is that you need both, and a lot of it depends on what kind of business you are trying to support here. Institutional advertising, and that's something like, this is just making a point, whatever type of retailer this is. I think it came from maybe Poland, is that it's just saying you're lowering the price of pretty dresses, or you can haggle there. So that's making one point there and making it pretty well. But there's a lot of examples. Institutional advertising is I used to, in our store that I grew up in, we had one partner who was very big on price and item advertising, and my dad happened to say, yeah, but we need some institutional advertising. So we would do some things that were just purely to support the fashion image of the store there. So I see we're showing, excuse me, 10 participants. So maybe we have some by phone or something. But anyway, I'll keep going. We have a few more here. Wanted you to understand the difference there. On slide 20 here. Oh, okay. Reminder advertising is something like this. So this is like dating from 1920 or even before. Coca-Cola, and even today we see things. When we go on a road trip, you might see some sign in some small town in Texas or Oklahoma or anywhere, Nebraska, all over the country. And this is kind of how they built their brand nationwide, with simple painted signs like this. And this is reminder advertising. The brand was established. This is to say, hey, just remember this is the pause that refreshes, or drink Coca-Cola like this one. Another one of those is Got Milk. I don't think they're currently using that one, but it's just to say, hey, do you have milk in your refrigerator? Just an important thing. And one of the reasons that they do this is this chart right here. It's from your textbook, but what you've got going on in here is, let's see, I'm going to try this for the first time. But when this looks a lot like the curve of the product life cycle. It is, and there it is. That's, my art is not good, but the introductory period, informative advertising is very important, because you've got to tell people the details. If they, let's think of something. If it's a industrial product that nobody's heard of before, you've got to tell a lot of details. If even the iPhone, when it came in, Apple did a good job of talking about how many things that were it could do. It would, and they did it pretty much without words. They did it with images, just showing people what it could do. But also notice that as the informative or as the product matures, and I think I need to go back to the mouse here, as the product matures and goes into decline, the informative part of the advertising, as far as becomes less important. The reminder advertising we were just talking about with Coke and milk, that becomes more important, because you can say, well, milk, of course, have been around for ages, and Coca-Cola has too. Also, many other products that you just want to stay in front of the public. Well, that's where this reminder stuff becomes important. But the main thing I want to point out is, see the green in the middle, the persuasive part of your message is constant throughout. Okay, that's the main thing. Is whatever you are approving or writing or trying to get approved in your messaging to the public, it needs to take them from point A to point B and further on in terms of their feeling about your product. So, all right, let's see. Let's going to the next one. Comparative. Okay, I'm going all the way over here to 27 because we don't have time for too much. That's the co-op advertising, talking about co-op advertising. Say, it would be interesting to see who paid for this billboard. I would say typically that McDonald's paid for most of it, but Coca-Cola paid for a little bit of it, kind of based on the percentage of the screen there that is shown. Here's a typical, here's a co-op advertising kind of scheme that is you might find if you have a job in marketing department. This is a company that makes air conditioning equipment. So they would say, if you want help from us, and say you're a local air conditioning contractor, okay? If you want help from us in making a marketing piece, we'll help you pay for that. We will pay up to 30% of the allowable marketing costs. Sorry.
We can't see your slides.
I'm sorry? Go ahead.
Are we supposed to be seeing your slides?
Yes, you're not seeing them?
No.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, let's try it again. And let me know if it's looking better. You see retail advertising and cooperative advertising?
No, it's not coming up at all. Like the last slide came up perfect. This time the slides are gone.
Okay. Yeah. All right. It must be. Let's go back and look here at this. And sharing screen. Okay. Let's go. Let's quit sharing the screen, and then go back. Yeah. It looked like when I tried to draw on the screen, it looks like it moved everything up. Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right. We'll go back on that. Okay. All right, this is the one I was talking about where if your marketing piece from an existing project template that we as the manufacturer are providing, we'll pay a little bit more. We'll pay 50% of allowable marketing costs or 60% if you are a master installer. And notice we have a cap on it. If you want us to help pay for your website, we'll pay $200. It's kind of a way to keep the costs down, and but every little bit helps. So that is helpful. Now, one thing. Another thing is, say, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is kind of another form of co-op advertising, because what Macy's does is get all of these. You notice there's a licensed character in the background, Spider-Man, and the publisher syndicator of Spider-Man pays for that balloon and makes a pretty heavy contribution toward the that balloon being there and the cost of storing it and refreshing it and all that stuff every year. So Macy's really doesn't, they get a lot of the benefit. They get to be the kind of the aggregate benefit of all of that good feelings and karma, on Thanksgiving morning. But they don't have to lay out a lot of cash on it. So that's a good deal there. So, all right, let's see. All right, let's go back and stop the sharing there for a second. And there is one of the questions I had for you all is how do you measure ad effectiveness? There's many different ways, but I'm kind of thinking about one way that is very helpful and very easy. It's cost per thousand. So, and if anybody can anybody explain? It's one way you can say actually compare television to outdoor advertising, because all of them will let you know how many thousand people are you reaching. Magazine people, buy a magazine ad, buy a newspaper ad. How many thousand people are you reaching with this impression? So you just divide by the number of thousands. So you get a cost per thousand or CPM number. So, if you wind up in a marketing department, it's going to be handy to know what that is. And that can begin to be the basis of your evaluation of, knowing how effective you might step into a situation where, somebody's spending all their money on radio just because they like the salesperson of that particular radio station, or maybe they like the format, but it may not be the best thing for them. So let's see. And there was a slide later there. I don't think I'll go back to the slides quite yet, but unaided recall. Can anybody tell me what unaided recall is from the textbook or any of the slides, anything like that? This would be, if somebody's prompting you like me right now, then it is aided recall. But unaided recall would be something where you might in a survey, and it could be somebody is asking you a question at the mall or something, or maybe a telephone survey, but you are asked, have you seen an ad for First Financial Bank in the last week? And what medium do you remember seeing it on? Do you remember anything about it? Do you remember what the headline said? Was it about, checking or loans or car loans or what? So that would be, but an unaided recall is a way to test, kind of a truly kind of out there way to test the recall of an ad, because you're not giving them any hints like I just did. So, and if they do recall it, then that would be pretty good, pretty good indicator. Looking over here, okay, looks like okay, yep. Since we're doing this new system, this is my fault again. So we have some additions here to the, and we had probably more than we've ever had. So, and we had 3 more. So I want to thank everybody for coming, but I did not realize that I have to admit you all. So that the waiting room concept is great because it gives everybody something there to do while waiting. But anyway, we've been going for a while, and I apologize to y'all. We're going to move on to chapter 17. What we've done to those who were not able to see the earlier part of it was we talked about chapter 16 and 17. And there's one more thing in chapter 16 I'd like to bring out, and that is 27. Okay, and I'll go back here and share the screen. All right. Like this is a print ad from, all right, so from a magazine here. And it's just, I thought it'd be good for you to be familiar with the components of the ad. You got the headline here. And this is Crest, one of the leading brands here. So headline, the next thing is the body copy. So it's smaller, but I would note that, in creating an ad, everything you're doing, let's say somebody, you know how people read magazines. So a lot of times it's flipping through. You're just flipping through the magazine. You might say, well, I'm happy with my Colgate toothpaste, and I'm not looking for a new toothpaste. But this ad is attempting to say, hey, wait a minute, there's good news about fewer cavities and so forth. But it's also designed so that you can either be, your interest can be gotten by the headline there or the smaller print in the body copy. A lot of times you might come back to it if you got the least bit of interest. You might find something in the body copy that you want to know more about. So and then let's see, the signature or logo would be important to there. And then finally, there's something we call the tagline. That's kind of your last point there, your last chance to see what they have to say. Let me. What I'm looking for here is to make sure that I haven't left anybody hanging out there in the waiting room yet this time. So, all right. So if that makes sense, that I feel like that's good. Let's look over here also at chapter 17, personal selling. There's a lot of jobs in this area. So if you are interested at all in advertising and marketing, you may find yourself in personal selling, and indeed, we're all called on to sell all the time, basically selling an idea. Jim McKelvey is a really good salesman, even though he didn't consider himself so. He's a passionate person. He's got a lot of things he's interested in, but he's talking to venture capitalists about investing in his company. So it's a big thing. Now let's see. Okay, we have a few people that haven't been able to get in. So once again, it's not going to count against anybody. But I'm just going to. I can't respond to them right now. But wanted to look at this. This is just a composition of where the jobs are by major industry. And my point in showing this is just that all of these involve selling in one format or another. So just keep that in mind. And let's go on over to slide 16. I wanted to, or even before there, I want to talk about also the inside selling. There is a chart here that's talking about kind of good to know that inside selling, as opposed to, we think of selling as like calling somebody who you don't know, a cold call, in other words, and telling them, trying to make an appointment or having somebody make an appointment for you, or sending them an email, and hopefully praying that they will let you have an appointment to come tell them about your company or the product you have to sell. But one thing that is increasing is the importance of inside salespeople. And inside salespeople are basically people working within the company. They might mainly reach out by telephone and email to people. They might be following up on leads. One advantage of doing it this way is that for a marketing manager is that they can have better control over the message and what the salespeople are telling people. And you're talking to somebody at headquarters as well. So let's go. Of course, when you review the slides yourself, there's a lot of additional information that I'm leaving out here, but we don't have time for all that. I did want to talk a little bit about this here. I think nearly every year when I office downtown, we get a call from some young people who are working for the Texas Rangers. So, and you would think that if you want to go see a Rangers game or buy season tickets, then you would just go online and buy that ticket. Well, but it needs a little bit extra selling. So it's been very effective and paid off for the Rangers organization to actually send people out to Abilene and say, they say things like, hey, we looked at all of our numbers on where people are from, and we found there's a lot of people from Abilene who love to go to Rangers games. So, and so they can give you a lot of information. One of their big appeals is if you want to reward your employees with something, you can give them season tickets to the Rangers games, or you can get a van or a bus together and take everybody there. So that's just something to highlight there. This slide, of course, we've seen a lot of pyramids in our course, but this one deals with the AIDA model. The A for attention being at the bottom, kind of the lowest one. This is the sales process. You are going in there and prospecting and qualifying. It can be a telemarketer who's gotten that appointment for you, but something you have done, or you're doing your research and you're putting people in the sales funnel. And then you have approached them, you get into the blue area of the actual presentation, and you want to make that as effective as it can be. you are demonstrating the product, and that's something that, you know, is very difficult to do on the telephone. So if you can get in front of them or get them maybe a video conference or a webinar that they could attend for whatever the product is, that would get you into step 4. And then handling objections. And in fact, the importance of that step 5 really can't be overestimated. And because that's where most salespeople just fall down or don't make it. And now you can be overzealous at this stage, but here's the bottom line: you have to figure out why they are not proceeding, and sometimes it's just lack of interest, but more often it is there's some other reason. They can't afford the product. They really should, you should be asking some questions at this point to say, did we put you with the right product? Maybe there's a less expensive one that would work equally well. Would that work for you? So it's your job to find out where the objection is. And then sometimes you have to do a little, it's almost like a, confrontation. It's not always comfortable for the customer because, they don't really want to tell you. They just kind of want you to go away as a salesperson. But a lot of times it's as a salesperson, it's your job you got to find out why they're not willing to proceed, and then factor that into your activities. And the close should be a lot easier if you've done the job of handling objections well. And then the follow-up as the last step, it's really more of a cycle because you want them to buy again. And notice, if they're going to buy again, basically you can go from step 7 back to, if there's no change in the order, you can go back to step 6 and close additional sales, and you have spent much, much less time on it. And you can go out and get additional customers, and you'll be fine. So, okay. That is an important concept, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the chapter there. We've got our last video chat scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight, and but between there, I think what we have that would be right before the topic paper is due. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. But otherwise, I think we're done. We try to keep it to 30 minutes or less, and I apologize to those who have not been able to join us, and I'll get it right by the time we do the last one, I promise. So at any rate, anybody got anything else tonight? Okay. All right. Well, I'm seeing, and you can always email me, and I'm seeing nodding heads and so forth. Thanks for hanging in there. And we have, thanks also for attending and trying to attend. We've had the best turnout this evening. So, well, everybody, I'll go ahead and end the meeting and have a good day tomorrow. All right?
All right. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all take care.